Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Cadet First Class James Holcomb, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the Falcon Foundation Bud Breckner Keynote Lecture at the 33rd Annual National Character and Leadership Symposium. Please join me in thanking the Falcon Foundation for generously sponsoring this session. I'd now like to introduce our esteemed speaker, Master Sergeant George Vera, U.S. Army, retired. Master Sergeant Vera entered the U.S. Army in 1995 and completed his initial training as an infantryman that year. He went on to serve in the Scout Platoon, Headquarters Company, 1st Battalion, 21st Infantry Regiment, 25th Infantry Division, and later with the Long Range Surveillance Detachment, 311th Military Intelligence Battalion, 101st Airborne Division. After graduating from Special Forces Qualification Course in 2002, Master Sergeant Vera was assigned to 2nd Battalion, 7th Special Forces Group, where he served in range of leadership roles and deployed multiple times to Kuwait, Wake Island, Thailand, Colombia, and Afghanistan. On his 5th deployment to Afghanistan in August 2015, Master Sergeant Vera was severely wounded during a gun battle while defending his camp. Despite a T12 spinal cord injury, he has dedicated himself to recovery and adaptive sports, earning gold medals as part of the U.S. team at the Invictus Games and participating in Warrior Games and multiple hand cycle races. Please join me in welcoming Master Sergeant Vera.
In mid-2015, I had a chance to deploy for the 5th time to Afghanistan. During that time, I decided, well, my best friend's in Afghanistan, why not go for another one? So that was my 5th combat deployment. But this one was a little different. I was working basically in an office with people I'd never been deployed before. I had no idea who they were. I had no idea anything about these individuals. All I know is I had a job, it was in Afghanistan, and that's where I went. During this time, luckily, my best friend, who I entered the Q course with in 2001, he was the camp commandant, first sergeant. So, although this was a different kind of deployment for me, I was actually working in an office compared to being out in the sticks doing whatever with an SFODA. This would be the most challenging and most difficult thing I had ever done in my Army career. I had just hit 20 years. I decided to stay another 5 years. So I deployed to Afghanistan in 2015. When I got there, I noticed there was a lot of things wrong in the camp I was at. Security lacked. There was a lot of people who just moved around nonchalantly about things. And you got to remember, you're still in a combat zone regardless. We were in a small post in Kabul. It was very officer heavy. There was not a lot of enlisted guys. And if they were usually sergeant majors and E8s like myself. On August 7th, around 10 o'clock at night, I decided to go check on the officers and the stuff that in the office that I was working at. As I went over there, I can remember it was hot. It was the last part of Ramadan. And as I walked in my office to check on the people, I felt a huge blast hit me. I fell to one knee, and by the time I hit the ground, I had already woken up, but it had actually knocked me out. What happened was there was a large vehicle-borne IED that hit the front gate of the base we were at. In the front, there were 9 Afghan guards. Immediately, they were gone. They were vaporized. There was a 2,000-pound vehicle-borne IED that hit the front gate. When it happened, I was part of a small QRF, quick reaction force. It It was myself, a ranger, 2 other SF guys. But because of the time of night it was, at 10 o'clock at night, those individuals, they were in their rooms, they were doing other things, they weren't readily available. So I took my guys in my office and I was like, hey, look, this is going to be difficult, but we're going to have to lock down this office. We're going to have to lock down whoever comes in and out of the building. The building we're at housed the JOC, and that JOC ran all of the special operation forces in Afghanistan. So during this time, I knew immediately that if there were people inside the base, which I could hear gunfire at this time, I knew we had to lock that down. So I had 1 U.S. major and 1 NATO major. He was from, I believe he was from Denmark. I go, look, you're going to have to lock this door down. Whoever comes in, you're going to have a split second. If they're American or NATO, let them in. If they're not, you know what you have to do. Now you got to remember, these guys had never seen combat like I had. And that's not to make me a better person. It's just I had seen more stuff than they had, and I was used to it. So as I was putting on my stuff, luckily, I was able to get my weapon, got my stuff, body armor. And as I walked out, there was a very long hallway. In the hallway, there was like 15 or 20 people just standing there. They had their weapons, but they didn't have leadership. There was no one there to take charge of these individuals. So for the Army, it's always a 1 to 3 ratio. So I knew I could control, by standard, 3 people. So I grabbed the first 3 people in the stack, and I go, look, you guys stand over here, lock and load your weapons, be ready to go out. We're about to leave in a second. And as I looked over, there was like 10 other terrified people standing there. And the 4th guy that was standing there, I remember grabbing him and saying, hey, look, if any of the other SF guys comes or the Rangers come, tell them that I took 3 guys and I'm headed towards the sound of the gunfire. And I knew it was the front gate because there was 2 gates, but one was completely blocked off we never used. And the front gate was where, if anything was going to happen, it was going to be there, and that's where it was. So as I grabbed this kid, I say kid, but he was probably 24, 25 years old. He was pretty young. I said, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go out. And then from there, I'll decide which way we're going to go. Now, this base, it was almost like a large rectangle. They had guard posts all throughout. The problem was I didn't know if this was a green on blue attack. I didn't know if the Afghans were going against us that were on the base. Now, there weren't many of them, but they did guard. They were in the towers and stuff like that. So I knew if I went one way, I run the risk of running under 3 of the towers, which you don't know if they're with you or against you. So I took a shorter route, but the shorter route put us right in the kill zone. It basically led me right to the front gate. So as we were going, myself and 3 guys, we got to the front gate. I put 2 guys in security, and myself and the other guy, we were behind the large HESCO barriers. And as we pied around, you could see the vehicle had been blown up. The gate was gone. The anti-ramming systems, they were completely destroyed. The gap in the perimeter was probably about 3/4 of the stage right here, so it was large. If there was a follow-on force, anybody could get in. So as myself and this other individual, as we pie around the corner, we see one insurgent coming through the gate. He's got his AK on his hip, and he's just spraying everywhere. So as he's coming in, we initiate, we engage him. He drops literally about 15 feet in front of me. I pull the other individual back in there. I'm like, look, this is what we're going to do. I don't know if this guy's dead or not. We're going to re-engage him. The problem I had was he was laying down, and he had his hands underneath him, and he had his head towards us, and he was looking at us. But I didn't know if he was dead or not. We had engaged him multiple times. So I told this young individual, like, look, we're going to pie out. We're going to engage him. And what happens, what happens. As we go to engage him, we fire him up, he rocks over and he detonates. So now I know these individuals that are trying to get on the base, they have suicide vests on. Now the point where we're at, it's basically the best case scenario for us where we can engage people because it didn't give them enough time to get through the gate, so we thought. So as that happens, we engage him, he blows up, I pull back. About that time, 1 SEAL, 2 infantry guys, and then my best friend, First Sergeant Peter Andrew McKenna, he shows up. He was part of the other QRF. I'm talking to him, and this is my best friend. He's the godfather of my second daughter, so we've known each other for almost 20 years. As I'm talking to him, I'm like, look, this is the real deal. These guys got suicide vests on. They're coming through the front gate. If they get in here and they get any further past this gate, they can go into one of any buildings, blow it up, and they're going to take out either U.S. and or NATO troops. So it was imperative that we had to hold the breach. As this is going on, I'm serious here, but when I was talking to my friend, I'm like, hey, look, bro, it's time to earn that SF pay. You know, because as an SF guy, you make a couple, like $300 more, I think, at the time. And he just looks at me and goes, you're so stupid. But that's the kind of guys we are, right? You're serious, but at the same time, you understand what your job is and you know what you have to do. So I tell him, hey, look, this is what I'll do. I'll take my one guy. And the area we was very confined. It was probably no bigger than the auditorium right here. So what you want to do is you want to try to outflank these guys, but because of you're constricted because of the base you're on. So I go, hey, I'm going to take my guy. I'm going to try to flank around and get on the side and hit these guys from the side while you guys lay down fire. My buddy goes, well, you already got guys here. You got 2 guys in security. You light these dudes up, try to get their heads down, and then we're going to try to flank them. So at this time, we really don't have a lot going on. They're throwing grenades, maybe 1 or 2. They're going off. They're sporadically hitting us with gunfire, but it's not major. It's nothing we can't handle, so we think, so we assume. So I'm like, all right. He goes, look, I'm going to take my guys. You light them up, and then we're going to try to flank them on the left. I go, all right. So me and the other guy, we peer out, and we could see where they're at to an extent. They're behind like a 5-foot barrier of cement. As we go out and we start firing them up, my buddy, a Navy SEAL, and 2 infantry guys try to flank them. So I'm on full auto. The individual that's with me, he's taking well-aimed shots. We're trying to keep their heads down. We're doing pretty good. And as my buddy and his 3 guys get about 3/4 of the way across the like an open area, a small road, that's when all hell breaks loose. At first, we thought there was maybe 2 guys there at most. It turns out there was 4 guys behind a barrier. And basically, they knew what we were going to do because of the confined space, and they basically sucked him into a kill zone. So as my best friend and Navy SEAL and 2 guys start going, all hell breaks loose. Now they're down there whipping grenades. They're lighting us up pretty good. As I come back around to reload, because remember, I'm behind a pretty good-sized cement barrier. It's about the size of where I'm at right here. As I reload, I look over, and 2 individuals come back. And I'm thinking in my head, who are these 2 individuals? Where'd they come from? And as I'm reloading, I'm looking at them. Before I could say anything, they go, hey, McKenna's dead. The other guy's dead. They're in the kill zone. They're laying there dead. And it hits me. It's like, oh, my God, my best friend, is out there laying in the kill zone getting fired up by a bunch of insurgents. And these 2 individuals just walk away. I had no clue who they were. I have no clue where they went, but they just left. So now I'm stuck with a big dilemma. What do I do? All right, and these are dilemmas that you as leaders are going to face eventually, right? It may not be as severe as this, but you're going to come up with dilemmas where you have to make the right or wrong decision, left or right, and you're going to own it, and you have to own it. So as I'm sitting there thinking, my best friend's getting fired up, what do I do? So as I pie back around, I can't really see where they're at because there's stuff on fire. We don't have no nods. I don't have no lasers. I have an EO tech on a weapon. I'm the only one with grenades. So as I'm looking, I go, all right, we got to get to him somehow. So because I was the only one on the camp that had grenades, I was able to throw 2 grenades and I hit to where those guys were at. I figure I probably killed at least one of them, maybe 2, but we were still taking pretty heavy fire, and they were lighting up my buddy where he was at in the general area. Now, I couldn't see him, but I knew generally where he was at. So about that time, I grabbed the other guy. I'm like, all right, man, we're going to have to get these guys. We're going to have to pull them out. And around that time, I see a stack of like 5 guys coming down the wall from inside the camp. So I look at these dudes, and I could tell, I'm about 90% sure they're American just by how they're moving, because they're moving in a stack how we move as an SFODA would move. And I see them coming, but I'm still not sure. I'm like, all right, let's see what they do. And I'm watching them, and then they start returning fire toward the insurgents. And I'm like, okay, these dudes are with us. Remember, I have no nod, so I can't see anything. So we start lighting these guys up again, and eventually they're able to pull my best friend and the Navy SEAL back, which that was probably the hardest time, worst feeling I ever felt in my life, because I knew that my best friend is like 20 feet from me. He had been shot multiple times. I didn't know how many times at the time, but he had been shot 6 times. 2 in his upper thigh, 2 in his body armor area, and then 2 in his neck. I could hear him yelling, and he's trying to talk, but when you get shot up in your neck, there's a lot of blood coming out. And I know what I have to do. The most important thing for me now is to try to take back the breach, because if I don't take the breach where the vehicle exploded, if they have follow-on forces, they're going to walk right through the breach. So what do? I just let my friend go. Eventually they pull him back, and I watch as they pull him out, and I'm like, all right, well, it's time to get busy. We always talk about, yeah, man, if you're going through a breach and you're going through the door and the first guy gets shot, what do? You step over him and you keep going. And that's what I had to do. So as they pulling him out, now we're still receiving pretty effective fire with them. But now I have a group of individuals with me. There's probably like 10 people who are just sitting there. There's not a lot of leadership going on. No one's taking charge, which to an extent I was happy, because I was the only one who was pulling the strings. You do this, you do that. At the end of the day, you don't want a lot of people, because then you don't know what's going on. You're working against someone else. So luckily I was able to do that. So as these guys are stacking up, I'm like, all right, we got to take back the breach. The most important thing right now is to take the breach back. So I'm looking, and there's 2 guys next to me. I go, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to try to flank these dudes on the other side. Remember, it's very constrained, so it's not wide flanking maneuvers like you would do in a regular infantry. So I go, all right, you 2 are going to come with me, and the other guy, we're going to get ready to go. And as I look down, I laugh at this because it's not funny, but it is. I look down, and these 2 individuals, all they have are 2 M9 pistols. That's it. So the blast was so big that we had huge weapons racks. They had actually tilted and fell over. So most of the M4s, your crew serve weapons, they were all locked up in cages. So basically we were fighting with what you had in hand, and these guys only had pistols. And I look at them, I go, where the hell's your guns? And they're like, yeah, the weapons racks fell over, we couldn't get them, this is all we got. So now I'm thinking, I know what I got to do. I need individuals, but I can't have these guys go with pistols. I'm not going to have these dudes flank around and assault an objective with pistols. About this time, this kid just walks up. He's like, Master Sergeant Vera, I found these on the floor. 2 M4s. What it was the Navy SEAL and my buddy's weapon. They had left them in the dirt. So luckily, we were able to pass them to the guys. We're like, all right, this is what we're going to do. And about that time, we were still receiving pretty heavy fire. I knew there was an RG-33, which is it's a pretty large armored vehicle, and on it there's a crew-served 50 cal on it. It's always locked and loaded, so always ready, and it's pointed towards the breach. So okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take 4 guys. 2 of you guys are going to open up the breach, open up the back of the RG-33. You're going to get in there. When you get in there, 1 guy's going to open the door to let me know you're in there. You turn on the 𝐂𝐸, which is the automatic system for the 50 cal machine gun. Once the door's open, I'm going to come up and get on there with you, and I'm going to tell you what to do. Now, when I tell you this, I'm not making this up. I had a brand new 2nd Lieutenant, Army, infantry. This is his first firefight. He's never done anything as far as combat related. And he looks at me and he goes, Master Sergeant Vera, we're not allowed to shoot people with the 50 cal. It's for equipment only. And I look at this dude and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. You guys can laugh. I mean, it's funny because I laughed. And I was like, oh my God. Well, luckily there was a young corporal there, and he goes, Master Sergeant Vera, I'll shoot anything you tell me. I was like, roger that. And you never want it now. This is, you guys are all officers here. You never want an officer to drive. You guys don't drive vehicles. Remember that. You don't drive. But this is the one time I made the exception. I'm like, Lieutenant, get your ass in the vehicle. Just start it up and do what I tell you. So they turned the vehicle on to get in there. I was able to run. It was only like maybe 30 feet, but I was still receiving pretty effective fire. So I was able to get up onto the RG-33 with the door open, so I was at least shielded from probably about my knees up. And I tell the 50 cal gunner, I'm like, all right, you got him? He's like, I got him, Master Sergeant. I'm like, smoke him. And we call it in the Army, it's called the Mad Minute. When you're on the ambush line, it's called the Mad Minute. You just shoot for a good 60 seconds. Anything in the kill zone gets it. Now that put me at another dilemma because although I know everybody that was on the guard force on the front, and there were 9 guys out there, I knew they got blown up and I knew they were gone. But I still had that dilemma. It's like, all right, everybody's going to get shot who's up there because there should be no one up there alive. So I have the 50 cal gunner go. He smokes it for a minute. All right, tell him to stop. I look. I think I heard like 2 shots. I'm like, hit him again. And they were behind a pretty good thick barrier. And with the 50 cal, they have they're called slap rounds. And they'll go through 4, 5, 6 feet of concrete. You just got to keep hitting it. So about that time, they stop. I don't see a lot of movement. So I get the other guys. I run back. I grab them. I go, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to have the RG-33. I'm going to have them traverse their 50 cal gun down to about a foot off their the hood. From there, I'm just going to have them sweep across from left to right as we drive forward. So as we're driving forward, the gunner's just going to keep shooting everything in sight. As we go across, we're behind the vehicle, and as we get to the objective, which was the front gate, the breach, we're going to just start spreading out, and as you go across the objective, if there's a body there, they get shot. My main concern was closing up the breach because I knew if they had follow-on forces, they're going to roll right in there and they're going to kill more individuals. So as we get up there, we were able to maneuver the vehicle in there. We get it to where it's set, and now's when all the chaos starts. Luckily, I'm moving guys around. Everyone's pretty good. Someone comes up with a 240 machine gun. So I place them right directly to the breach. Now, there's a vehicle there, but I have them pointed right at the back of the vehicle to where the breach is. And I tell this guy, look, you guys don't move, don't go anywhere. I go, you're going to have a split-second decision. I should be the only one running back and forth. Because by this time, I'm running guys back and forth, putting them in position. So as I do that, I'm getting ready to come back, and I go, you know what? How are these guys going to know who I am? So for us in SF, we use a word, and we say it's like a running password. I say it, I'm not going to use the word, but we'll say it's blue. If I say blue, you guys know who I am. You guys reply with blue, and I know I'm good to come up. So I use our word that we use. I don't hear anything. I'm like, oh, dude, I don't want to run up on this guy. Remember, this is like a brand new E2, E3 with a machine gun pointing at, all of us. So I go, and I know in the infantry, because I was an infantry guy before I went SF, I go, we say Ranger, Ranger. So I go, Ranger. He goes, Ranger, come forward. I'm like, thank God. So I come up there. I go, no one moves you. I'm the only one going back and forth, and I'm going to use, every time I come back up here, I'll yell, Ranger. You'll repeat it so you know who I am, and I'll come forward. So I do this for about an hour, maybe not even, about 45 minutes, putting guys in and placing, securing. Luckily, we were able to bring in two more RG-33s, and we were able to put them outside of the gate. So the first vehicle we had in the breach, we move him out. He faces north. Another one comes, he faces south. And then another one blocks the breach at a catty corner so no one can drive in. Now, as we're going back and forth, like I said, I've been placing people. We have people outside of the gate. The blast was so big, it actually toppled this, like an older building. It blew out the gates on top. We had towers. They were gone. But we were able to maneuver people in there and at least get good security. So, like every good infantry guy or SF guy knows, I got to let the jock know what's going on, right? Because like I said, I had no radios. I was the only one out there. By now, there's about 30 people out there, which is pretty good. And I'm writing where everything is. So there's a vehicle here. There's 3 guys in this vehicle, just on, the old notebook, the Write in the Rain notebook, probably all of you got. Right? Can work. So as I'm writing it down, I'm going back up. I yell, Ranger, Ranger, you come forward. And as I go up to my initial spot, I get ready to hand this paper off. And I go, hey, who is this? And he goes, it's Pat. I go, Pat who? He goes, Pat 𝐂𝐨𝐿𝐿. And that's my good friend. And he actually worked in this 𝐂𝐨𝐵 shop with me. Now, the thing with Pat is every time you're near him in combat, you always get shot. Always. He's the bad luck guy. Now, you always live, but everybody gets shot. One buddy took a grenade and he took shrapnel in his butt. Another guy got his finger shut off. So he's like bad luck. So as I go, when he says it's Pat 𝐂𝐿 I go, oh my gosh. And no sooner, and I laugh about it now. As I was handing him the paper, I felt the blast behind me. So initially what happened was the first guy that we engaged coming through the gate, he wasn't the first guy coming through. He was actually the 3rd guy. We didn't realize is 2 more guys had already came through the gate. And the way the perimeter was, they went straight, maybe twice the size of this room, all the way up. And there wasn't anything there. So as they were coming back, there was a row of cars that we used for stuff out in the city in Kabul. And they basically hid. One guy was in the back of a pickup. One guy was underneath the truck. And for about an hour and 20 minutes, they watched me go back and forth. And they just watched. So one of the last things I did before I got shot, I had a Navy SEAL and a Marine Corps JAG officer, a lawyer, go figure. I had them checking all the vehicles. So as I went and gave that paper to my buddy, they were right about to hit that vehicle where the 2 insurgents were. And the insurgents knew, well, we're about to get it. We've watched this guy for an hour go back and forth, so we know he's in charge. And they lit me up from the back. So I always try to remember, even after I'm going on my 11th year, I always try to remember if I felt the bullets first, if I felt the heat. I felt the heat from the gun. He wasn't very far, but I felt the heat on my neck. Or if I heard it, felt it, I always try to remember the sequence of events, and to this day I still don't know the correct sequence. So as he shot me, I got shot once in the left ankle from the back, once in the left knee. And as I was getting shot, it was turning me. I took another shot to the side here. And the last shot that came through here, it actually hit my body armor, came back, and it hit my spinal cord. So when I fell, I was in the spot, there was straddling this small gutter. And let me tell you, when people are shooting at you, you find a way to get small, and I did. And I was sitting there, I remember looking up to the side, and there were still people like trying to duck down and return and fire. I remember the bullets just ricocheting everywhere. How no one else got hit, it's a miracle. So as I'm laying there, I remember thinking, this is bad. And I turned my head and I took a round to the helmet. It immediately put me in shock. So I'm a 7th group guy. Our target area is Central and South America. So once the bullet hit me in the helmet, I began speaking Spanish. Hey, I don't know. Luckily, the guy next to me spoke Spanish, and Pat 𝐂𝐿𝐿, he was right there. He spoke Spanish too. So as they're trying to pull me out, they're trying to return fire. They end up killing both of the insurgents. The Navy SEAL and the Marine JAG officer, the SEAL, he took a couple rounds to the side plates. He was good. Me, on the other hand, I was not so good. So as they were moving me, in the movies when you see people are moving people around? No, it's not like that. I weighed 209 pounds. I was big. I had only had like 10% body fat. Plus I had 90 pounds of gear. It took 6 dudes to carry me. So they pulled me by a building. Pat was working on me. He's like, all right, yeah, I found out where one of the holes are. They were trying to stop it up. Then they eventually were able to pull me into the med shed. Now the med shed, it was super close. was only like from here probably, I don't know, to the wall over there. So it was really close. The problem was when that V-bid went off, it was so big it toppled everything. Roofs collapsed. So they couldn't even get me into the aid station. They had to like almost breach another door to get in. So as they're pulling me in, I remember hearing the doctor, I want to say he was an optometrist, an eye doctor. And I'm thinking, oh man, I'm screwed. So as they're pulling me in, I couldn't talk, but he's like, all right, hey, Master Sergeant Vera, can you hear me? Can you blah, blah, blah? And I heard him say chest tube. Has anyone ever had a chest tube here? Anybody? Let me tell you, I don't care what you're on. When you get a chest tube in you, you feel it. I've given chest tubes before to Afghans and who've been sedated, and they wake up immediately. Well, luckily, I didn't feel anything. I remember just saying, he's like, all right, chest tube's in. I was like, well, that's my cue. I passed out, and I woke back up, and I was already on a stretcher. And I looked down, and we carried everybody's heard of fentanyl, right? So we have things called fentanyl lollipops. And what you do is when you're doing a mass casualty, you tape them to the person's hand, you put it in their mouth, and when they pass out, their hand will automatically fall out so you don't over-medicate. So I woke up, I go, man, I got a fentanyl lollipop. I must be effed up. And everybody starts laughing, and I'm like, put it back in, you're not supposed to do this. I put it back in my mouth, and after that, I was gone. So I didn't realize this at the time. Black Hawks were coming in to try to get my best friend out. And because when they were coming in, they were getting fired up from the city, because we were right in like the northern edge of Kabul. So we actually went out on the same set of birds that came in, that finally went in. Pat Colleton, which he's my savior, he was able to stop the bird and get me on the bird. So both, I went on one and my best friend went on the other. I coded twice. I woke up a little bit in Germany, and then 2.5 months later, I woke up basically out of a coma in Walter Reed. So yeah, I mean, I had a lot of decisions I had to make really quick, which, let's face it, the reality is a lot of you are going to have to make decisions like that eventually as well. So it was rough losing my best friend. Eventually, I found out he did pass away. They told me months and months later. But hey, man, we're SF guys. We knew our job. Usually between the first and second combat deployment, you get shot. We're running on our 5th one. So we beat the odds. And at the end, he was the only fatality. I got shot up in a wheelchair while I'm paralyzed, and we had like 40 or 50 people who had TBIs because stuff that fell on them.